Okay, this video tutorial looks at the mathematical strand of patterns in algebra, and more specifically we're going to focus on the perfect square factorisation. Now when we're looking at factorising the perfect square, the thing that we're really trying to focus on is whether or not our expression has a negative or a positive symbol as the first symbol after the x squared, or whether the 2ab is a negative 2ab or if it's a positive 2ab. That's really going to help us in factorising our expression. The reason I say this is because if it's a positive 2ab, that means that we're going to actually have a positive symbol in the middle of our brackets. Alright? And our terms on either side, a and b, are literally just the square root of our first term and the square root of our last term. Now, if we have a negative 2ab in the middle, we're going to have a negative symbol in the middle of our brackets. But similarly, our first term and our last term are just the square root of our first term and the square root of our last term when our expression is expanded. Alright? And you can see examples of this where this is a positive and that's a 2ab. Alright? This is a negative, that's a negative 2ab. Okay, so we're going to talk about, or use what I've just talked about, I should say, in practice. As you can see in my first expression, I've got x squared plus 8x plus 16. Straight away, the first thing I can do, I know this is the perfect square. Alright, so I'm going to put it into one single bracket, that's to the power of 2. I know my 8x, or my middle term, is positive, therefore I'm going to have a positive symbol in the middle. Now all I need to do is square root my first term and my last term. That gives me an x and a 4. In my second example, again, first thing I'm going to do is put my brackets all squared. I know it's the perfect square. I'm then going to look at my middle term, which is actually a negative. That means this symbol is going to be a negative. I then just square root my first term and my last term, and I end up with 2x and 1. If you get something like this, where you may not be able to find the perfect square root of a term, or you can take out a common factor first. Alright, we always try and take out a common factor when we can. If this is my expression, okay, 2x squared plus 8x plus 8, I can actually take out a common factor of 2. So I can rewrite this as 2 bracket x squared plus 4x plus 4. Again, now it's very simple to work out. I've got my middle term, which is a positive. I'm going to rewrite this as 2 with my brackets. I've got to the power of 2. I've got a positive in the middle because my middle term is a positive. I then square root my first term, which gives me an x, and square root my last term, which gives me a 2. Alright, using what we've learnt, you're going to have a go at some practice questions. They're going to come up very soon. If you could pause the video, have a go at them, and when you think you've got the answers, continue the video and we'll check to see how you went. So as stated, here are the practice questions. Please pause the video, have a go at them, and we'll go through the answers on the last slide. Okay, the first thing we need to do is, in our first example, we've got an x squared, take 20x plus 100. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my brackets in. Alright, I know the middle term is a negative, so this is going to be a negative here. Then I just need to find the square root of my first and my last terms. That gives me an x, and this one gives me a 10. So my answer for the first one would be bracket x take 10, bracket all squared. In my second example, alright, I've got 25x squared, take 20x plus 4. Again, my middle term is a negative, so I'm going to write a negative in the middle. Alright, square root of the first term becomes 5x, and the square root of my last term is in fact a 2. So my answer would be bracket 5x take 2, bracket all squared.